This is how much time you have left until your next ass whipping. You're watching Final Fantasy VII.
Alright folks, this is Acid Root, so welcome to finally the episode 32 of Let's Play Final Fantasy VII. Now, there were a number of reasons why I backed away from this game, but the main reason I would have to say was just because of the lack of just credentials for capturing the Chocobo, because I knew it was going to give me grief, and it kind of gave me grief, but not nearly as much. I mean, there's a trick to getting the Chocobo that the LPs that I watched, that I tried to look as the reference, did not say. So I had to do some research outside of YouTube to find it, and websites like Game Facts or Game FAQs did not really help either. I mean, I could have looked, but I didn't feel like looking through like 4 or 5 of the walkthroughs to be able to find what to do. So the main thing is just about the greens you get. You don't want to get the most expensive one, but you also don't want to get the cheap ones. And I'll present to you the exact one that you need to get, because I just feel like it's basically almost like a do-it-yourself kind of approach, where you have to figure out, just because there's like 6 or 7 of the greens that you're going to have to get. So it's kind of, you know, I'm just going to make it presentable so it makes it easier time, because it's kind of a chore. I mean, I really was not very tasteful and mood when I was having to get this Chocobo. I mean, there's just certain stuff. I mean, this RPG has a fantastic storyline. The characters are great. The sequences for the most part. But I feel like some of the mini games kind of detract from the experience. I mean, I would still say it's like a 9 or a 10 out of 10 game. But there's just certain things that are very extraneous. So, but this is gameplay that I recorded back in probably December of 2020. This was the leftover that was originally going to be for part 32, but I just never got around to it back in the winter. So you're seeing the leftover bits of that, which is basically just hanging out at this town getting some stuff. But unfortunately, I start to realize pretty quickly that I need money, and I think it's wise to actually do some of these battles so that way you can, I mean, you always want to have at least 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 gil so you can get the stuff that you need. It's not so much for like resting and healing items as much as it is for like the stronger equipment and things like that. So this has been like the thing there. But so yeah, this next segment, once we get the Chocobo that you're gonna see, you're going to want Tanya in the party, or Eris in the party, for an extra bit of dialogue from some of the things that's going to happen. So it's interesting. I mean, I try to catch these things just to kind of have that bonus dialogue there, but I may not be able to every single time, because obviously, in addition to having a practice file and having to watch, you know, a couple other people play through this game and know the exact episode out of like hundreds that there are, you know, it's just, you know, it's like a full-blown prospect, and I managed to get this far across the course of 2020, but now I just have to really decide how much further it's gonna be able to do. Truthfully, I'd like to get at least another 8 or 9 of these episodes eked out before the end of the year, or the end of 2021, but I just know that some of the stuff that goes on, there's another segment that happens later that has another mini game that I don't really like. There's just something about them. I mean, the thing about this game is if you don't do the mini games, it kind of really derails you from being able to experience the regular RPG, the regular adventure. So it's like you're basically kind of coerced into having to do them. But when I think of previous RPGs, like something like Mario RPG, or, you know, some of the other ones that came out for the Super Nintendo, it just was really not that mandatory. And it's no offense to like Square and, you know, the people that made this game, but it just really, it's kind of hodgepodge in a lot of ways. But anyways, we'll get back to the adventure. So we are finally departing from like this type of area as far as like the beginning segment of the game. Now we're going to start seeing the more fantasy segments of this game, and this is what, you know, typical Final Fantasies are. And it's interesting. I mean, to me, I really like the kind of neo-tech kind of city and bars and this kind of grungy hooligan type attitude that the first few segments of this game had. I really liked the city type feel. I think that that's why Final Fantasy VIII wound up being like that, because that's what people liked, was this part of the game in Final Fantasy VII. Hopefully we get back to it. I mean, I know Final Fantasy is a fantasy game, but it was really fun, like the first 2 or 3 hours of this game. So, but these are chocobo tracks, those little paw prints. I mean, those are like what you're gonna have to run across to encounter them. We are not going to get a chocobo in this episode, so just get used to grinding and seeing some of these fights. I mean, really, not a lot of progress in this episode, but I can at least promise that episode 33 is going to have some more of that, and I'm going to try to get that out promptly as well. So, this kind of happens to be the remark there, but yeah, it just feels good to get back to some PlayStation stuff. I'm just kind of under the department of... I mean, I do have like a low-key goal set to want to beat this game, but I just know due to the length of it, it's going to really take quite a bit of my energy to devote to that. So that's really, I mean, I'm still doing Crash Team Racing. I'll probably do that tomorrow or in the future, but this kind of depends. I mean, it's just the thing here. But at least you're getting a new episode. It's kind of like the same thing with Wario Blast. I'm trying to do it, but, you know, there's lots of trigger points that just happen to piss me off. That, I mean, I know I should probably be more timely, but it's just, you know, I mean, I just have a different kind of temperament when it comes to video games. I mean, you deal with people. I mean, it was different back in like 2002 or something, the sort of stuff that you had to do, just because it was, you know, I'm just used to like undo buttons and that sort of stuff, where you just click undo or redo or whatever you need to do to just go back to where you were. I mean, obviously in terms of like video games, that would be like save states, but there's just a lot of like otherwise things that need to happen. So I'm trying to talk to this chocobo because it gives you like a certain materia if you talk to it and engage with it, but I just wound up saying screw it. So this guy's going to provide a little bit of plot. And, so yeah, he's going to talk about the Midgarzala, and that's like this huge snake that Sephiroth takes out extremely easily, and, but it can basically wipe out the party with not much of any sort of effort. I mean, at least, I mean, you really have to level up, and you know, so... Like H.C. Bailey, I watched his playthrough, and he actually managed to beat the Midgarzala. I mean, obviously he's an experienced role-playing game dude, but that's just kind of the thing about it. I mean, I think he even provides you the details of how to do it, but it's just the question of whether or not you have the emphasis to. So, I just said, screw it, I'm just going to get the chocobo, but... So, here's where the segment actually shows up that we're going to have, like the stuff about what to get. Now, I'm not going to get it in the first go round because I thought that the most expensive one was the one to go, but the Mehmet Greens or whatever it's called really only lets the chocobo be there for one turn. You would think that because it's the most expensive, but it kind of throws you for a loop. So, but I'll go ahead and show. I guess I'm kind of, yeah, I was doing something, but so. Yeah, I still have some Powerade taste. You know, I'm just, I was drinking Powerade and it tasted really good. Just trying to... I really wish my local Walmarts, I mean, years ago, and by years ago, I mean, like, before coronavirus, Walmart used to carry, like, you know, more than 3 types of Powerade. I mean, for the most part, the only Powerade that my Walmart and local grocery store has is red, blue, orange, purple, and I think that's really it. You know, there used to be, like, pink, there used to be green. Green is real hard to find. There used to be white. there used to be, well, there is yellow. I forgot about it. There is yellow also, but there used to be pink, pink, green, white. There was like a neon one that had like a mango, pineapple mango or something like that. There were just tons of them. I remember there was like a lemonade one that was kind of like a light yellow. I don't know what happened to all the fucking Powerades. I don't know where they went and why our local Walmarts don't decide to distribute them anymore. As if people just stop caring. Like, oh, I don't need to drink that lemonade Powerade anymore. You know? This is kind of the thing. I mean, if a store doesn't want to carry it, I guess I'll just go back to just 3 flavors. You know, you get the idea here. I mean, this makes me wonder what the marketing tactic was. I mean, I know I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but just the marketing tactic as to why there's less flavors available. You know, the Power is pretty popular, but alright, so I'm just trying to think of what else was. I mean, really, it's been kind of a mellow couple of weeks. I'm kind of gearing up for what my next move is, trying to figure out what I'm going to do here, and, you know, just with this extra spare time, I actually managed to gather together an episode of Final Fantasy VII. So, I mean, that's what happens when I have spare time, is I do things that I haven't checked on in a while. We get to not just, like, secondary habits, but we get to, like, tertiary and quaternary tactics, which quaternary is in the 4th term. You know, past primary, secondary, tertiary. So, I mean, it's strange to say that Final Fantasy VII would have went as far as quaternary, but I don't know. I mean, I just was really on the back burner because of this segment right here. That's how badly this pissed me off. So I was just like, because I knew, I knew when watching those playthroughs that just the sketchiness of how the other YouTubers did this. I mean, it was just as if I had to search it in myself to figure it out. But, I mean, if it wasn't for that website I found that distinctly told me this is the best Chocobo greens to get, I wouldn't have known what to do. It just would have been stupid. I mean, I don't know if there ever would have been another episode, because I just was struggling that much with getting this fucking Chocobo and shit. I mean, surely there'd have to be someone on the internet that could make it easier for everyone else. I mean, I really get pissed off anymore, and I've talked with people like Jackal Goldkick about this, but I really get pissed off anymore just with the concept of do it yourself and explore and figure it out on your own type shit and taking it at face value. I mean, it just really pisses me off because I don't know why so many people are so apt to make sure that your surprise isn't spoiled. I mean, we don't need 50 people working in conjunction to make sure that a surprise that's not even for them is not spoiled. Which, I mean, this is another tangent I could get on, but, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of surprises for the most part. I just kind of feel like, you know, it just winds up being more of a chore. I mean, this episode would have been posted to YouTube probably back in February around Valentine's Day or so, or whenever part 31 came out, if I had just had the ability to, you know, actualize this versus the chore of having to search for it. I mean, it was simple how I found it, but that's just putting emphasis on the fact of me being able to, because I wasn't aware that it was going to be that moderately simple. So that's just kind of the thing, so it's idiotic. But, you know, I just hope that there's not more segments like in this game later on that are gonna, I mean, because it's mainly the mini games. It's not so much the fighting or the stuff you have to do in the dungeons as much as it is just when they decide, hey, there's a mini game that you have to do and you have to be good at it and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I don't want to sound too droning on about this, but that's your reason behind why this took 9 months to come out. So, and make sure you have the Chocobo lore equipped, because otherwise you'd just be wasting your time, so. Alright, so. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what to do. It's Tech9's birthday on a low-key thing, but alright, subscribe for more fun. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night.